Hello, and welcome to this short video entitled Connecting to Tektronix Instruments from MATLAB. As you can see here in the lab, I have a Tektronix TDS 2012B oscilloscope. There's a 5-volt square wave connected from the probe of the oscilloscope to channel 1. What we will demonstrate today is how to bring this waveform information into MATLAB. Before we get started, it is important that you install the Visa software from either Tektronix, Agilent, or National Instruments. This demonstration will show how to connect to the oscilloscope over a USB cable. However, you can use the same method to connect over a GPIB, Ethernet, or serial interfaces if your instrument has those options. Okay, let's jump into MATLAB. In order to connect to this Tektronix instrument, I'm going to use Test and Measurement Tool, which is a feature of the Instrument Control Toolbox. Now the Test and Measurement Tool is open, you can see that I have a number of nodes on the left side. We're going to connect to this Tektronix oscilloscope using a MATLAB instrument driver. So I'm going to open the MATLAB instrument driver node. You will notice that there is a Tektronix 2012 MDD file here. I'm going to select this file. And in order to connect to the instrument, I'm going to right-click on the driver and choose Create Device Object using Driver. I must now create an interface object. I'm using Visa as an interface layer, and I'm using Agilent's brand of Visa. This instrument happens to be connected over a USB cable, so I'm going to choose the USB resource string. I click OK. And then I click OK again. And now you will see that I have an interface object, Visa USB, and a device object, Scope Tektronix TDS 2012. I can now use these objects to connect to the instrument. I'm going to click on the Scope Tektronix device object. It shows me that the device object is disconnected, so I will connect. And now, since I am using a MATLAB instrument driver, many of the functions and properties are already coded into the driver, so I don't need to have the manual in front of me for the instrument. So I'm going to read the waveform in using the read waveform function, which is part of this driver. This takes an input argument, which happens to be the channel number. So I will type in channel 1. And it takes a number of output arguments. I will type in Y and X so that we can get both the time and the voltage amplitude information. Then I will choose Execute. And the response window shows me that I have completed the function successfully, and I now have a 2500 by 1 double called Y and another 2500 by 1 double called X. Now, so far I've done everything using the user interface. However, there's a nice property of the Test and Measurement Tool called Session Log, which actually shows you the MATLAB code that is used to connect to the device. So you can always use this information if you're building a larger program. So returning to the previous window, let's export Y and X so that we can work with it from the MATLAB environment. I have a choice to either export to a figure window or to the workspace. Today I'm going to export into the MATLAB workspace. Now you see that I have X and Y in the MATLAB workspace. Let's plot X versus Y. And you see, from the figure window here, we now have the 5-volt square wave in the MATLAB environment. And you can see we have approximately 5 milliseconds of data. Let's return to Test and Measurement Tool for 1 second. We just demonstrated how to connect using a MATLAB instrument driver. However, it is also possible to connect using Test and Measurement Tool using the interface object. If we choose the interface object, we can send Skippy commands, for example, *IDN. And we can send that command and see its response, and we can see that we are connected to a Tektronix TDS 2012B. So this is an alternative method to connect to the scope by using the Skippy commands that come with the manual of the scope. So we've shown how to use Instrument Control Toolbox to connect to a Tektronix oscilloscope. The MathWorks provides several other products to connect to your hardware as well. The Data Acquisition Toolbox can be used to connect to plug-in data acquisition boards. The Image Acquisition Toolbox can be used to connect to webcams and frame grabbers. And the Vehicle Network Toolbox can be used to connect to CAN bus interface devices that are used to connect to a controller area network. For further information, please go to www.mathworks.com/products/instrument. To find and download MATLAB instrument drivers, please go to the File Exchange at www.mathworks.com/MATLABCentral. And to get additional information on how to work with Tektronix hardware, go to www.mathworks.com/Tektronix. Thank you for listening.